Number 10. 50 Cent. Famous American rapper and actor 50 Cent is well known for his work and his influence on the hip-hop scene. In 2015, the rapper was forced to declare bankruptcy after he was ordered in court to pay $5 million towards Lastonia Leviston after he had edited and re-uploaded a inappropriate tape of hers. Just 3 days later, he filed for the bankruptcy. I guess he didn't even have 50 cents to his name. That one was bad. After filing, he was ordered to pay $23 million. Something that people noticed was that even after saying he was broke, he was seen posing on social media with stacks of cash and $100 bills, though his lawyers told the public that it had just been prop money, often used for music videos or movies. In 2017, he was able to pay off the debts after paying $9 million of his own cash and over $13 million he had won in a legal malpractice case, officially emerging from bankruptcy 3 years ahead of his plan. These days, his net worth is around $30 million. That's definitely way more than 50 cents. I'm done. Number 9. Larry King. Larry King was a well-known and legendary broadcaster, but like with many celebrities, he struggled at the start of his career. When he started gaining popularity in the 60s, he made use of his money, as I'm sure many of us would, blowing it on things like expensive cars and betting on horse racing. Finally, in the early 1970s, his wallet couldn't keep up anymore, and King was in debt, divorced, and fired thanks to a scandal. As he found himself unable to find work for 4 more years, he eventually had to file for bankruptcy in 1978. Soon after, in that same year, however, he was approached with the opportunity to run his own radio talk show, finally becoming the wildly popular Larry King Live Show, which ran until 2010. Thanks to the sudden re-emergence of his successful career, he didn't face much trouble with paying off his debts and coming out of bankruptcy. The legend unfortunately passed away in January of 2021 with an estimated net worth of around $51 million. Number 8. Willie Nelson. Tax season, the most stressful time of year for a lot of people. The dreaded audit waiting around every turn. Famous performer Willie Nelson unfortunately managed to get on the bad side of the IRS. With his success throughout the 50s to the 70s, Nelson was pretty rich. But when the IRS took a look into his taxes, they found something that they didn't like. He had apparently been hiding his income in tax shelters, Nelson saying that it was just a bad choice as a result of bad advice from his accountants. They determined that he owed almost $16 million in unpaid taxes. Nelson knew what was coming and that his assets were going to be seized, so he sent his guitar Trigger to Maui with his daughter. He filed for bankruptcy and even took to putting out a CD for sale that was titled The IRS Tapes Who'll Buy My Memories, which featured just him and his guitar. It was an unusual agreement that the two teams had come to in order to share the revenue of the CD and pay off his debt. He also famously said he bothered the IRS agents by parking his bus outside and doing autographs with fans in between questioning. Number 7. George Foreman. George Foreman, who you probably most associate with a grill, was a successful boxer, making around $5 million from his fights. However, by 1987, he had lost almost all of his money from both bad investments and an apparently overly extravagant lifestyle. As a result, he filed for bankruptcy, came out of retirement and started fighting again, and also licensed his name to a line of grillers. At the beginning of the deal, they agreed he would get 45% of the revenue from the product, but it's reported that by the time the grills took off, he was making nearly $11 million for every television promotion he did for the product. Finally, in 1999, the manufacturer paid George Foreman a total of $137 million in cash and stocks in order to be able to continue to use his name and likeness for the product. Thanks to the success of the grills, which I'm sure no one saw coming, Foreman was able to find his way back to success. He now spends his time at home with his 5th wife and 9 children, sporting an estimated net worth of nearly $300 million. And I'm sure he spends a lot of time grilling as well. Number 6. Tom Petty. Famous rock star Tom Petty was another celeb who had to file for bankruptcy, except in his case it wasn't due to overspending or making poor bets. Instead, he was trying to free himself from his contract with his record label Shelter Records, as he had seen barely any money from 2 of his hit hit albums, he became unhappy with the contract, saying he didn't want to be bought and sold like a piece of meat. He refused for his next album to be released, taking on the cost of recording, which left him $500,000 in debt. So he then filed for bankruptcy, hoping that by doing so it would give him leverage, as the bankruptcy court might declare the unfavorable contract null and void. And it worked. They agreed to release Petty from the contract and re-signed him to a new label. The held-back album Damn the Torpedoes went double platinum and cemented his place as a superstar. He obviously had pretty strong beliefs, as when they attempted to release the CD for $9.98, $1 higher than average, he fought to have it kept at the standard price of $8.98. Thanks to his bold move, he ended up with a net worth that totaled around $95 million. Number 5. MC Hammer. While I don't have my hammer pants on today, we are going to be talking about the American rapper and dancer MC Hammer. In the beginning of the 90s, he was one of the most popular celebrities around, making apparently around $70 million. However, 5 years after his peak, he filed for bankruptcy. So what happened to all the money? Well, apparently 17 luxury cars, 21 racehorses, a private jet, 2 helicopters, a golden hot tub, a pool in the shape of his pants, and statues of himself. Yeah, you can't say this guy doesn't have style. It quickly caught up to him, as in 1996 he filed for bankruptcy, selling his dream home for about half the price that he had purchased it for. He lost all his cars, planes, and horses, and I can only imagine someone came in and melted down the golden hot tub. He owed about $13 million. But I'm sure he's very grateful for his music and lasting celebrity status, as he's still been able to generate income, and his current net worth is estimated at around $2 million. Number 4. Burt Reynolds. Back in the 60s and 70s, actor Burt Reynolds was famous, appearing in tons of movies, and everyone at the time thought that he was very attractive. At the peak of his career, he had a total of around $60 million to his name, winning multiple Emmys and being nominated for various Golden Globe Awards. However, just as quickly as he got his money, it was leaving his pockets. He had several mansions in Beverly Hills, villas, a private jet, and a 160-acre ranch in Florida with 150 horses. What anyone could possibly need with that many horses, I'm not really sure. However, his second marriage to Lonnie Anderson cost him a lot of money, and he eventually filed for bankruptcy in 1996. He also had apparently spent over $100,000 on toupees, but he still said, "I would have spent more money and had a lot more fun." It seems the bankruptcy wasn't too bad for him though, as in a strange move, the courts allowed him to keep all of his homes, and only required him to pay $2.5 million of his debts. He continued starring in films for decades after, but could never seem to match the success he had at the height of his career, his net worth coming down to around $5 million. Number 3. Mike Tyson. Heavyweight champion Mike Tyson is another fighter that we are adding to this list. At the peak of his career, which was wildly successful, Tyson apparently made around $300 million from his fights. However, Tyson also enjoyed the lavish lifestyle that the money provided him with, spending money on mansions, parties, sports cars, and even his pet Siberian tigers. As a result, in 2003 he had to file for bankruptcy, his debts apparently being around $27 million, with $18 million being unpaid taxes. While he admits he went crazy with his money, he also places the blame on the people around him, saying that there were people who took advantage of him, stating that leeches is even too decent of a word to use to refer to them. Mike Tyson was unable to get out of bankruptcy until almost a decade later, some of which was spent in rehab for his substance use issues. He has had some movie appearances and television shows since, with his net worth now being around $10 million. Number 2. Marvin Gaye. Known for his hits like Heard It Through the Grapevine and What's Going On, musician Marvin Gaye was a legend in the world of soul. However, in 1976, he would go through a divorce that would cause him to file for bankruptcy. The settlement decided that he had to pay all the royalties from his next album to his ex-wife, in return for $600,000 of unpaid alimony payments. Other rumored reasons for his bankruptcy were spending habits in relation to substance use issues, problems that continued throughout the rest of his life. In 1984, however, he was able to make a recovery, as as he released his record Midnight Love. It was an incredible success, selling over 2 million copies just in the United States. Unfortunately, his finances never seemed to fully recover, and at the time of his unfortunate and untimely death, he was in debt almost $10 million, having only his intellectual property to his name. Number 1. Walt Disney. This man doesn't really need any introduction. Creator of Mickey Mouse and Disney, he's a household name around the world. However, the beginning of his career wasn't so easy. In the 20s, he started his first ever animation studio called Laugh-O-Gram. While somewhat successful, the business eventually failed. When he was forced to file for bankruptcy, it's not known what exactly his debts were, but he was apparently unable to pay his employees or even his own rent. We all know that afterwards, though, he was able to launch Walt Disney Studios in 1928, this being thanks to a loan that he received from his brother and his parents. As soon as Mickey Mouse came alive, the studio went on to become one of the most successful in the world. At the time of his death, his net worth was around 20 million, which today would be close to 150 million, and Disney's total worth right now is around 200 billion. Maybe his frozen head is just waiting for the right time to come back up and take advantage of some of that money.
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Bella Thorne. Okay, obviously Bella Thorne isn't rock bottom poor, but surprisingly she isn't as rich as we all thought she was. Thanks to her racy Instagram pics and her revealing outfits, the former Disney Channel actress has been able to become a tabloid darling. In 2017, if you factor in on her again and off again relationship with Keeping Up with the Kardashian star Scott Disick, it's pretty much made Bella become quite a public profile. However, before Bella became the big name she is today, after she left Disney Channel, she had $200 to her name, and at the age of 18, she even had to overcome some dark experiences, which even included her going broke at the age of 18. Things definitely did take a turn for the actress later, as she is now worth $12 million. However, that's still a pretty low penny for Hollywood standards, and she might find herself in a tough spot again, as she's formed a reputation for partying with bad boys instead of fine-tuning her acting skills. Number 9. Lindsay Lohan. Even though her glory days as a Disney star and a box office success of Mean Girls are far behind her, at one point Lindsay Lohan was everyone's favorite Hollywood it girl turned bad, and even after her reputation caught up to her, she's still trying to make up for all of her losses. After reaching the peak of her career, when Lindsay's partying got out of control and she publicly started to air out all of her family's dirty laundry, she quickly began racking up legal troubles. Eventually, her public and private mess-ups led to her losing paid gigs, paired with her substance abuse problem. The star's stints have even caused her to go in and out of rehab, which caused her to have a never-ending number of unpaid bills. And as quickly Lindsay made money in her career, she ended up losing everything. Even after the star lost everything, she could still be seen taking lengthy vacations in the Mediterranean when she was not living in London, which caused us all to wonder how she was affording everything when her net worth was only worth $500,000 at the time. Things today though have taken a turn for the actress, as she's now worth $2 million thanks to her Netflix deal and her new marriage. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Ezra Miller. While Justice League is shaping up to be another sore loss for the DC Extended Universe, Ezra Miller's portrayal of the Flash has been heralded as a breakout performance, according to the nerdiest, with fans hoping that Ezra Miller's solo performance as a heroic speedster, the Flash, would fix the problems that have plagued DC's attempts to mimic Marvel movie success, would only be left feeling disappointed as the star began to spiral out of control. With Ezra having a pretty prominent role in the Harry Potter spin-off series Fantastic Beasts, you would think that the actor having 2 blockbuster franchises under his belt would be worth some serious coin. However, instead the actor's annual salary is only $500,000, which is a little alarming considering Grant Gustin, the TV version of the Flash, is worth $2 million, making Ezra only worth $4 million today. So it really makes you wonder, how did that happen? Number 7. Kelly Rutherford. After Kelly Rutherford starred starred in the hit television series Gossip Girl, you would think she would be sitting in a pretty good spot these days. However, apparently the star is now only worth around $1 million, which is nothing compared to what she used to be worth. Sadly, Kelly lost a lot of her money during a bitter 6-year custody battle over her children, and when her court case was finally settled, a judge would grant full custody to her German ex-husband Daniel, and Kelly would be only permitted to visit her kids in France and Monaco. Back in 2015, the Daily Mail would also report that Kelly's legal fees at the end totaled around $1.4 million, which forced the actress to file for bankruptcy back in 2013. Later, Kelly would also tell Vanity Fair that divorce is a total racket. Let's call it what it is. Everyone's making tons of money off of stupid people who don't settle out of court. And for somebody like my ex-husband, who has unlimited funds, who sued Google, this is just a sort of side fun project. Yikes. Number 6, Stephen Amell. Stephen Amell is a well-known Hollywood actor thanks to his role in the CW's hit show The Arrow. His time as the DC comic hero Green Arrow has been so successful that the series began a linchpin for shared TV universe that has grown to include The Flash, Supergirl, Legends of Tomorrow, and animated spin-offs. But despite the affectionately named Arrowverse flying high with fans worldwide, Stephen has a net worth of only $3 million. After 6 seasons of The Arrow and a supporting role in the 2016 summer blockbuster Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, his overall net worth just seems a little weak, and it's honestly just makes no sense. Hopefully in the future, Stephen's agent will be able to hit a bullseye when it comes to Stephen's future salary negotiations, as the star is being ripped off. Number 5, we have Alicia Vikander. After critically acclaimed performance in the sci-fi thriller Ex Mechanica, Swedish actress Alicia Vikander landed the coveted role of Lara Croft in the 2018 Tomb Raider reboot. Despite succeeding Angelina Jolie as the video game heroine, Alicia is only sitting on a net worth around $8 million, which is a far cry from Angelina Jolie's stunning net worth of $120 million, which honestly isn't that surprising since the reboot of Tomb Raider definitely didn't live up to the standards of Angelina Jolie. That being said, the first trailer of Alicia's Tomb Raider lit social media on fire, so there is a pretty good chance that the actress's gritty take on the role could be a hit with audiences and span a larger paycheck down the road. But hopefully it's just not through another Tomb Raider movie, because that movie seriously didn't do her acting any justice. Number 4, Jared Padalecki. Supernatural has been a reliable staple on the CW network since 2005, with its 15th season being the final season airing in the spring of 2020. The show was such a success that they even made a reboot series called The Winchesters. Since Supernatural ended, fans were indeed obsessed with the series, as it remained strong enough that there was also a launch of a spin-off series in 2017 called Wayward Sisters, which is surprising to hear that the series star, Jared, is only worth around $14 million, despite anchoring the popular show for more than a decade. Granted, Supernatural ended, it has been rumored that there is still a pretty good chance that the show could get more seasons later on due to the show's consistent ratings. And if this does happen, Jared should definitely ask for a raise. With the series having 15 seasons, he was definitely underpaid. While Jared and Jensen are open to the idea of rebooting Supernatural in the future, they just aren't open to the idea as of right now. But give it 2 more years and we'll probably see the famous heartthrobs back on TV doing what they do best. Number 3, Burt Reynolds. The late Burt Reynolds was a Hollywood legend with more than 50 years of acting under his belt. But despite his iconic status and a drink named after him, he only had a net worth around $3 million before he passed away. The Smokey and the Bandit actor was, however, the first to admit that he wasn't the best when it came to his finances, but he did it with that trademark Reynolds charm. He once even told Vanity Fair that he lost more money than possible as he never really watched his spending habits. While Burt was facing foreclosure on his Florida home due to his outrageous spending, he would say, "I've still done well in terms of owning property and things like that, but I haven't been somebody who's been smart about his money. There are a couple of actors who are quite brilliant with the way they handled their money, but they're not very good actors." He then ended the interview with a smile. Number 2, Stephen Baldwin. The Baldwin family as a whole has been so successful that it's pretty easy to imagine that the whole family is rolling in a pile of green behind the doors. But the bottom line for Stephen Baldwin, who happens to be Hailey Bieber's dad, is much different, as he's actually worth only around around $1 million, which is pretty low when you compare it to Hailey Bieber's net worth of $20 million. Steven can owe a lot of his net worth due to the fact that he landed himself in hot water a couple of years ago, after he failed to file income taxes for 3 years. His attorney would then tell CNN later that Mr. Baldwin is a man of faith and it's difficult for him to get jobs in Hollywood that are compatible with his faith. And that's one of the difficulties he's had for paying off the money. Well, maybe one day his wealthy relatives will float him a loan. Number 1. Pamela Anderson. In the 90s, Pamela Anderson pulled off the impressive transition when it came to career moves, as she went from being an X-rated model of the month to a successful actress, thanks to a small role on the sitcom called Home Improvement. After 2 seasons, Pamela made her biggest move by landing her now iconic gig on Baywatch, which paved the way for her starring in her own TV series called VIP. Also, throw in a couple of magazine covers in her infamous marriage to Motley Crue rocker Tommy Lee, it's no wonder why Pamela was then later named the most powerful Canadian in Hollywood back in 2005. However, things would then quickly turn south for the actor in 2009 after her career dried up, and she found herself in more than $1 million in the hole after blowing tons of the cash renovating her home. She also ran into problems with unpaid taxes in 2012. Now today, Pamela is now worth $20 million, which might sound mighty fine to us, but it's not a whole lot in Tinseltown. Coming number 10, we have Amber Heard. A lot has gone down since Amber Heard spent a lot of money on legal fees during her high-profile legal battles with her ex-husband, Johnny Depp. Before, Amber's career started off slow, but once she was married to Johnny Depp, she was starting to become a household name. She was actually on the verge of becoming a huge star in Hollywood after gaining traction thanks to her roles in the films such as Justice League and Aquaman. However, after Amber had a really dramatic split from her ex-husband, Johnny Depp, in 2016, it seems like her bank account took a serious hit. It all started when Johnny first agreed to pay Amber $7 million as part of their initial divorce settlement, and she vowed to donate it. However, in 2021, the media then started to run with reports that claimed Amber didn't donate the money she promised she would. Her legal team would then defend her lack of actions made towards her by suggesting she had spent millions of dollars defending his accusations against her. Then jump to last year, Amber Heard would then be left to fork over $10 million in total following her highly publicized defamation suit case against Johnny Depp, which makes Amber currently worth negative $6 million. Number 9. Tyga. Back in 2015, Tyga would find himself being sued yet again over unpaid rent, which was worth a whopping $16,000 a month. And this wouldn't be the first time the rapper would find himself in a sticky situation, as in the past, he has even been ordered to pay around $80,000 in back rent to another landlord in the same neighborhood. Now, the Sunshine rapper is heading back to court because he has been skipping out on his court order payments for his Lamborghini and Bentley. Tyga apparently owes $481,000 for both cars because he needed to pay for both of the cars in interest, and he brought his debt to a total of $1.3 million. However, according to the Celebrity Net Worth, Tyga does have a net worth of $7 million, despite being no stranger to lawsuits over missed payments and even tax issues. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, Kanye West. To say Kanye is poor would be an overstatement. However, the rapper did end up losing over $1 billion after he lost top brands such as Adidas, Gap, and the disgraced fashion house Balenciaga when they terminated their relationship over his controversial comments. He would also head himself towards a divorce with Kim Kardashian, where Kim would receive $1 million per year she was married to him, and she would also remain on Kanye's life insurance policy, which is valued around $20 million for the rest of her life. Kanye would also be ordered to pay Kim $200,000 a month. He is also responsible for 50% of his children's educational expenses, security expenses, and medical expenses, which doesn't leave Kanye in a good position as he lost majority of his fortune in just a blink of an eye. Number 7, 50 Cent. 50 Cent can arguably be one of the best rappers or one of the worst rappers that emerged out of the 90s. In 2015, 50 Cent had reportedly been in debt with $32.5 $25 million as he was caught up in lawsuits and unpaid child support payments. The next year, he would then declare bankruptcy. Back in 2018, reports would then emerge. In them, it would be reported that 50 Cent was a millionaire again thanks to having $700 he was reportedly paid in on his 2014 album. However, then documents would state that that statement wasn't true, which left everyone wondering how much money he was actually worth because he's never owned any bitcoins. Number 6. Sugar Ray Williams. In the late 1970s throughout the mid 1980s, Williams was captain of the New York Knicks and played for the Boston Celtics 1985 finals team. But in 2010, the Boston Globe then reported that Williams was now sleeping in the back seat of his 1992 Buick in Palmano Beach, Florida. In interviews, Williams would then go on to say that he believes the NBA should be doing better when it comes to taking care of their retired players, as he is one of many former stars in need of assistance. In the interview, he would then go on to note, "Who I played the game. They always talk about loyalty to the team. Well, where's the loyalty and compassion for ex-players who are hurting? We open the door for the guys whose salaries are through the roof." As during a course of Williams' career, he blew over $2 million that he made in contracts during his career, which leads to the overall questions: do agencies like the Legends Foundation or the NBA Retired Players Association need to do more to help people like Williams, even though they've already given him grants that total around $12,000? Or did his coaches, teachers, and mentors all just fail him? Number 5. Natasha Lyonne. Orange is the New Black actor Natasha Lyonne was all over the big screen in the 90s and in films such as But I'm a Cheerleader, Slums of Beverly Hills, and American Pie. Her promising career was derailed after a series of encounters with law, but back in 2001, the actor would be arrested for driving under the influence, and in 2004, she would be charged with mischief, trespassing, and harassment of a neighbor and the neighbor's dog. These incidents were then followed by a 2005 hospitalization for a variety of ailments. She eventually was even evicted from a friend's townhouse and ended up on the streets. Since, Natasha has been trying to revitalize her career in acting by taking on roles in shows such as Orange is the New Black, Law & Order, and she's also appeared in an off-Broadway play called Tigers Be Still. Number 4. Brett Butler. In August 2021, it would be reported that former Grace Under Fire star Brett Butler had fallen under hard times when she became the recent subject of a GoFundMe fundraiser started by a friend, despite having made over $250,000 for an episode for her 1990s hit ABC comedy series. Brett would then tell The Hollywood Reporter that she was 6 months behind on her rent, and she was worried that she may have waited too long to allow her friends to launch a GoFundMe. While the star felt ashamed to start up the GoFundMe page to begin with, she knew she needed to enlist in help as she had been struggling to live with the pressure. 5 years after the show Grace Under Fire was cancelled, she would opt to become sober. Brett has also stated she ended up in her current predicament because of bad financial decisions, threat by people she trusted, and being unable to work. Number 3. MC Hammer. At one point in time, MC Hammer was known for his legitimate hit, You Can't Touch This, but it seems like the star then became only a one-hit wonder. After MC Hammer debuted his track, he would soon have around $30 million in his bank account. Thanks to his success, Hammer was also able to buy himself a $1 million mansion, and that he made over $30 million worth of adjustments, and he staffed 200 people in his home. He also brought a horse stable where he kept 19 race horses. Combined with his unrestrained spending and numerous lawsuits, Hammer declared bankruptcy in 1996 while he was reportedly $13 million in debt. In 2011, he then went on Oprah Winfrey's show to talk about spending most of his days in California, Silicon Valley, and being loosely involved with about 8 companies. Then for a brief period of time, he was also on tour in 2019. Number 2. Nicolas Cage. At one point in Nicolas Cage's life, he was one of Hollywood's biggest stars as he earned himself around $40 million alone in 2009. However, he then became one of Hollywood's biggest spenders, as he splurged pretty much all his money on things such as horses, automobiles, and rare artifacts. His precarious style then led him to sell many of his personal belongings, including a treasured comic book. And while many would stop there, Nicholas would then go on to spend a lot of his money on old artifacts such as a dinosaur skull, a collection of shrunken heads, and a couple of castles being in Germany and in the UK. Eventually, the National Treasurer actor spent his entire fortune on $150 million on some of the most bizarre things. Despite working in Hollywood since 1982, he eventually ended up in debt after he spent majority of his money on some pretty insane things. Then, by 2006, Nicholas became so overwhelmed in debt that he owed the Internal Revenue Service a mega $6.3 million. By the age of 40, he then spent enough money to make himself broke, and then he started to shift his blame on his accountant and said he was sending him down a path of financial ruin. And coming in number 1 today, we have Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was known for being a great rebounder and teammate of Michael Jordan for becoming an eccentric celebrity. Outside of sports, Rodman would then become known due to his short marriage with Carmen Electra, and eventually became an unofficial US ambassador for North Korea. Back in 2012, Rodman's lawyers said he could barely afford living expenses and he couldn't even pay his child support. At the time, he reportedly owed over $800,000 in back child support, but in court documents, his lawyer said he was broke and sick. Back in 2019, he would be accused of stealing a 400-pound amethyst crystal from a yoga studio, as well as more than $500 worth of clothing from brand like Spiritual Gangster and Lululemon. He then denied the allegations that were being held against him and said the merchandise was a given gift. Not to mention, he also famously kicked a cameraman in 1997 and was fined $200,000 while being suspended for 11 games. The incident would then cost him $1 million in earnings. So starting off our list at number 10 today, we have Drew Barrymore. So on Tuesday, February 28th, Drew Barrymore would share with the world that she doesn't get her gorgeous salon color in the salon, and she actually gets it from the comfort of her own home. As she would tell the world, not only does she use box dye, but she is now the new face of Garnier Nutrice. Drew then went on to caption her post on Garnier USA's official Instagram page by saying, "You wanna know who my celebrity stylist is? Me and Garnier USA Nutrice. I am excited to share that I am officially the Nutrice girl." She then went on to add in the post that she has been coloring her own hair at home for years and that she is proud that she could finally share her official secret before adding, "Nourished hair, better color, here I am," as she reveals that the color she uses to get her perfect look is Garnier Nutrice number 70 Dark Natural Blonde. But do we actually believe she gets her gorgeous color from box dye, or do we think it's just clickbait so we all opt in to buy Garnier Nutrice? Number 9, Lady Gaga. So the biggest questions fans have been asking since 2011 is if Lady Gaga is actually guilty when it comes to not paying her former personal assistant for overtime. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, back in 2011, Jennifer O'Neill sued Lady Gaga, claiming that Lady Gaga owed her over $380,000 for carrying out 7,168 hours of extra work during the 2010 Monster Ball trek. In 2013, it seems like the trial was finally settled, but the settlement was kept pretty confidential as neither side's attorneys commented on what happened. But we do know Gaga didn't initially move towards an out-court agreement without showing her teeth, to the point she even fumed about Jennifer in her deposition in 2012 when she said she just thinks she's just like the queen of the universe. And you know what? She didn't want to be a slave to one, because in my work, what I do, I'm the queen of the universe every day. You don't get a schedule that's like you punch in and you can play at your desk for hours and then punch out at the end of the day. This is when I need you, you're available. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel because it would really help us out. Coming at number 8, we have Madonna. It's said that anyone who is a big fan of Madonna, or if you're over 40, then you can't forget the massive confidence Madonna showed after her performance on the American Bandstand in 1984. When Dick Clark asked the up-and-coming star about her dreams and goals for the future. The Material Girl replied by saying to rule the world. Then for the next 2 decades, Madonna went on to break all the rules, and she just kept pushing all the limits she could. While the star wanted to rule the world, she certainly did not, but she certainly did cement herself as one of the biggest stars in the world. Unfortunately, it would then later be exposed that Madonna doesn't really take very good care of the people who take care of her day-to-day needs, as the singer is known for either leaving a very bad tip or no tip at all when she's dining out, and from time to time she's even been called out in many instances for being a major cheapskate. Number 7. Kim Kardashian. When Kim Kardashian started to clean out her closet in an eBay auction for charity, the star quickly came under fire when she said a percentage of the proceeds would aid victims of the Philippines typhoon disaster. But the key word, percentage, and many fans were crying out foul, as only just 10% of the sales would actually go to the charity, which is actually truly disgusting and disappointing. As when Kim first told her fans about the charity, she said, "The proceeds will go directly to the communities they're serving in the Philippines and will help typhoon survivors get access to medical care and ultimately save lives." She then went on to deceive the public by making it sound like the charity would receive more than just 10%. And honestly, the star could afford to give the whole proceeds to the charity, which she just chose not to do. And it was honestly just wrong to mislead the public the way she did, and it was honestly just really selfish in the end. Number 6. Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell is a passionate advocate for a number of different causes, as she is a longtime vegetarian and she has even started a plant-based baby care company. On top of that, in 2019, in an interview about her spending habits with InStyle, the actress took the opportunity to further open up about her sustainable lifestyle. Bell then went on to gush about how her and her daughters even like to embrace things like thrift shopping, upcycling, and using less plastic. When she told the media outlet, "We take waste very seriously in our household. We compost, and I find the girls saying cute things like, 'I'll keep those bottle caps, I'll use them in a craft later.'" In addition to inspiring her kids to upcycle into their crafting routine, Bella is also teaching them to be thrifty and embrace secondhand shopping by saying, "I have to be honest, I don't splurge a lot on my kids because they're kids, they ruin everything. I buy a lot of their clothes secondhand, and I don't buy them a ton of new toys. That's what grandmas are for. And B, I don't have a ton of new plastics in the house, so I tend to be aware of that." Number 5. Lindsay Lohan. In May of 2011, Lindsay pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor theft for stealing a $2,500 necklace from a Los Angeles store. The actress then claimed that the necklace was on loan to her, but the store's owner then said that Lindsay just simply walked out of the store with the jewels. Lindsay would then later be sentenced to 120 days in jail, which she didn't end up doing. And in 2012, the news would then be plastered with the star's name again, as media outlets all over the world started to claim that Lindsay was a troubled star that also allegedly owed the Chateau Marmont Hotel more than $46,000 for a 47-night stay. Inside sources then started to claim that they believed it was the producers of her Lifetime movie Liz and Dick that were picking up the expensive tab. Later, TMZ would then report that Lindsay finally paid her tab and eventually was allowed to go back to the hotel, which she calls home. Number 4. Sarah Michelle Gellar. Okay, so if you don't love Sarah Michelle Gellar, then you might actually love her after you hear this, as the star is not only an actress and entrepreneur, but she's also the queen of coupons. She once even told CNBC Make It, "I cut coupons to this day. I'll never forget one time I was at Bloomingdale's and they had these coupons. Bloomingdale's has really good coupons, and I was taking them all out. I was doing holiday shopping, and someone behind me turned around and said, 'I can't believe how long you're taking. Why are you using coupons?'" Sarah then remembers looking at the person behind her and asking her, "Why should I pay more?" She then went on to say, like, "If there's a coupon there, I'm going to use it. Just because you're successful doesn't mean that you shouldn't be errant in your spending. I've never believed that." While she may have the funds to make some pretty big purchases, it's in Sarah's nature to be smart about her spending, which is pretty relatable because even before the star makes a purchase, like a leather jacket per se, she'll look at it for a couple of days days to make sure she really wants it before she goes on and purchases it. Take advice from Sarah Michelle Gellar. Number 3. Sarah Jessica Parker. Sarah Jessica Parker has held a reputation of having one of the world's best closets thanks to her alter ego on the show Sex and the City. But even before she had every designer at her fingertips, the star says she was having fun with fashion, just in a more low-budget way. In her cover story for InStyle's 2016 January issue, she would open up about her inspiration, being a designer, and why thrifty stores are so important to her, as before she was introduced to women all across the country, she didn't have all those big designers on speed dial, so thrift stores played a huge part in her life. And even today, she's not looking to keep up with the trends as she likes creating them as a designer herself. But it's honestly nice to know that even if you don't have a high budget, you can still dress to the nines and look your best just by shopping at your local thrift store, as even big name celebrities still do it today. Number 2. Mila Kunis. Despite Mila Kunis being worth millions of dollars, she still likes to use her coupons and save her money. In an interview with Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend podcast, she would say, "If you're an immigrant, you have a very different mentality because I am an immigrant, and I think that creates a different perspective on what the value of a dollar is and what hard work is." She then went on to say that she has been leery about spending money even prior to marrying Ashton Kutcher, when she said, "I'm such an extreme, I'm gonna be broke tomorrow. I'm not gonna have a job. I was always living my life so cautiously that it took me the longest time." Even to this day, despite her husband's interventions, she still has thrifty tendencies aimed at reducing wastefulness, and part of her balance includes online company Groupon, as the star is a huge supporter and walks into restaurants to use Groupon all the time. She even finds herself fishing for discounts even at the spa, and when she's online shopping, she looks for all the discount codes. And coming in at our number 1 spot today, we have Winona Ryder. So back in 2001, Winona Ryder shocked the world after she was arrested for shoplifting at Saks Fifth Avenue in Beverly Hills. Ryder was busted when she tried leaving the store with more than $5,000 worth of clothes, which was baffling since she definitely had the money to pay for the merchandise since she was the highest paid actress at the time. The actress was then convicted of a grand theft felony vandalism, given 3 years probation, and assigned to 480 hours of community service. And the court then ordered Ryder to pay restitution to Saks and undergo psychological and substance counseling. Later, the court then reduced her felonies to a misdemeanor after she demonstrated that she was a good citizen. In 2013, Winona would then tell Radar Online that the embarrassing incident then forced her to take a much needed break from acting. In a weird way, it was almost the best thing that could have happened to her. Starting off our list at number 10, we have Rihanna. So back in 2013, TMZ would report that Rihanna was being sued over $150,000 for skipping out on paying for her grandmother's funeral services. So it said that after Rihanna's grandmother passed away, she wanted a party complete with tents, multimedia large screens, and huge exotic floral arrangements. But big parties and funeral services come with a big price. And for the company that helped Rihanna's visions come to life, they would claim that the grand total was going to be more than $150,000, for claiming that the singer actually only paid a quarter of their bill, as she refused to pay any more. The article then went on to claim that in the lawsuit, the company would claim that Rihanna refused to pay for the price as she felt like it was a bit exorbitant, and the funeral home claimed that it was because Rihanna's demands came at a hefty price. Now, the singer's reps would later tell TMZ that the allegations were completely false and that Rihanna did pay the full bill, but then the home then claimed that this wasn't true, so it really makes you wonder, did she pay the bill or did she not, or did she just pay it late? Number 9, Kendall Jenner. When Kendall Jenner was out dining with Hailey Bieber, she would become extremely unhappy when the staff wouldn't serve her any alcohol because she was underage at the time. So instead of giving up like any other 18-year-old, the model apparently decided she would get up and leave and not pay for all the food she ordered, which was apparently only $60 worth, before a tip. Her server was then forced to chase the model outside and ask her to pay for her bill. To the point it was reported that all Kendall and Hailey did was start laughing. Then Kendall took the $20 bill out of her wallet and threw it at the server's face before walking away. She didn't even check to see if it was enough to cover her bill or if it even included a tip. The waitress later took to Instagram to say, "The horrible moment, you chased a Kardashian down the street because she forgot to pay for her bill to throw money in your face." Later, only Hailey's rep would make a comment about the incident when she said the girls thought everything was paid for and Kendall was polite and did ask if the money covered everything. But none of us really believe that statement. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can keep up to date on all the latest videos. Number 8. Megan Fox. In an interview with Express, Megan Fox will reveal that when she was just 14, she decided she was going to steal a Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen cosmetic item from Walmart. She then would go on to explain to the outlet, "They actually took me to court and I had two choices. I took the second one, which was wrapping gifts for Christmas, which was awesome. It wasn't really a punishment. The other one was they were gonna make me wear a sign that said I stole from Walmart, standing outside for 3 days." As of 2009, Megan would refuse to shop from Walmart as she didn't know if her ban was for lifetime or not. But honestly, the kit was probably only $2, so the fact she didn't pay for it, or the fact Walmart actually wanted her to stand outside with a sign that said I stole from Walmart for 3 days is pretty embarrassing enough to make sure she probably would never do it again. Number 7. Michael Jordan. NBA legend Michael Jordan's net worth is estimated to be $1.7 billion. Yet the former Chicago Bulls star has earned a reputation for being notoriously stingy when it comes to picking up a check. In an interview back in 2010, the vice president of operations for the Hard Rock Hotel in Las Vegas shared an illustrative story about the time both Michael and hockey icon Wayne Gretzky were gambling in the casino together. Apparently, Michael had ordered a drink and then gave the waiter a $5 chip as a tip. Wayne then took the chip off the cocktail waitress's tray, gave it back to Michael, and then grabbed a $100 chip off of Michael's stack before telling the basketball star, "That's how we tip in Vegas, Michael." Number 6. Tiffany Haddish. Things haven't always been easy for Tiffany Haddish as she's literally come from nothing until she finally broke out into fame thanks to roles like her hit comedy Girls Trip. Tiffany is a true statement of what it means to go from rags to riches, as she once was so broke she even had to live in her car. Tiffany poked a little fun at herself in 2017 while throwing shade at Jada Pinkett Smith in the process during her comedy special when she recalled being taken to task by Jada when she discovered that Tiffany's Michael Kors handbag was a cheap knockoff. Tiffany then responded to the star by saying, "Well, until I can afford the real one, I'ma be rocking the fake one. And I have no problem with that, Jada, and honestly, good for her, as you don't need to buy the most expensive handbags to dress nice or to look nice, but shame on Jada for making fun of her for it." Number 5. Shailene Woodley. Okay, Shailene Woodley is definitely a fashion icon, and the fact that she exclusively only buys used clothes is even more heartwarming, as she once said in an interview with Hollywood Reporter, "I exclusively buy used clothes. I'm going to be a citizen of this planet. I'm going to do my responsibility and live in stride with nature instead of constantly fighting against her." To Shailene, the earth is her religion and she believes in the trees. Now, the star does tend to don designer from time to time, but in the process she even chooses to walk the red carpet barefoot. The star opts to wear organic material when she doesn't shop from thrift stores, as she really wants to recognize her spirit, and it's to be a hippie. So ultimately, the star decides to do this because she believes that sometimes in the industry, everything's materialistic, and she does this so she can ground herself and remember that it's truly important for her to help the planet. Number 4. Tyra Banks. Despite amassing a giant fortune thanks to her modeling, TV work, and business pursuits, Tyra has always been more of a money saver than a spender, and she even revealed in an interview with Money that she has always been more interested in things like experiences than money. When she told the magazine, "Things didn't make me happy. I saved, but I saved to a fault. About 15 years ago, my accountants pulled me aside and they were like, 'Tyra, you're not spending money. Nothing. You're just giving it away to the government. You need to spend some damn money.'" Banks then gave in and made an F account where she started spending her money on things she called stupid stuff. But in hindsight, she said that she should have spent her money on things like art pieces and things that she would have appreciated. Banks even today has set a limit for herself for her extra spending, as she wants a budget so she can feel safe later on, and there's nothing wrong with that, but the fact that she once bought her employees McDonald's for their work party instead of an actual catering company is just a little strange. Number 3. Carrie Underwood. Some habits are hard to break, and even when a person finds fame and fortune, that doesn't mean a person can necessarily break their upbringing. And this is definitely the case when it comes to Carrie Underwood, as even though she is one of the most famous country singers in the world with a massive fortune, she still likes to clip coupons. But hey, just because she has money, why shouldn't she save it like the rest of us? But sometimes when she does her weekly shopping, she does forget her coupons when she gets to the cash register. The star would state that the reason she still does coupons is because her parents didn't raise her to flaunt her money, so she tries to live a normal life as much as she can. And even with all the money in the world, nothing can change her ways. I kind of admire that. Number 2, Angela Bassett. So when celebrities are set to go to some really big events, they are known to spend a lot of money on their swag for the events. But it's not always for charity. And these practices can raise eyebrows. So according to financial records of a Hollywood fundraiser, Aaron Tonkin, he showed that close to $7 million he raised through charity events went to celebrities who showed up at these events instead of the charities they were raising the money for. So when Angela Bassett attended 2 of these events, she actually ended up receiving $60,000 in jewelry, even though her rep said it's perfectly normal for the company to pay her for her celebrity appearance in the name of charity. Celebrities need to know that they need to have a good heart, and at the end of the day, they're taking away money that could really help a person in need. Also, it's not like she needed the $60,000 in the first place, as she took it in jewelry and not cash. And coming at number 1 today, we have Gordon Ramsay. What if I told you Gordon Ramsay's show, Hell's Kitchen, is really Hell's Kitchen, as the controversial chef's own restaurant suppliers have even stated that Gordon got a little stingy with them as he didn't pay his bills. So back in 2010, it would be reported that even 2 wine suppliers filed a lawsuit against the chef for thousands of dollars of wine that were delivered to Gordon's restaurant at the London Hotel in New York. A meat supplier would then also come out to say Gordon owed his company over $190,000. And then in 2013, employees at one of Gordon's Los Angeles restaurants filed a class action lawsuit for unpaid wages. The hot-headed TV chef star has also been slapped with lawsuits for allegedly owing $89,000 for a cleaning bill at a West Hollywood restaurant and $75,000 to an accounting firm, and it's not like he didn't have the money to pay the bills, he just chose not to pay them, which honestly isn't okay. Pay your bills.